They say betrayal doesn't come from your enemies. It comes from the ones you trusted with your heart. And I learned that the hard way. The day Isabella shattered mine. But this isn't just a story about love lost. It's about how I rose from the ashes of what she destroyed, and made sure she lived in the ruins she created. I met Isabella on an ordinary Thursday. Rain was pouring, and I ducked under the awning of a bookstore downtown, drenched, annoyed, late. That's when she appeared beside me, shaking out her umbrella, her hair a mess of dark curls, eyes tired but electric. She laughed when our umbrellas collided. I apologized. She smiled. It's fine. I needed a plot twist today anyway. That line. It stuck. We talked. She was a novelist, or trying to be. I was building a tech startup with a couple of college friends, broke, overcaffeinated, but ambitious. There was something about her, unfiltered, passionate, raw. She didn't just walk into a room, she entered it, like she belonged there all along. One coffee turned into two. Then into dinner. Then into nights where we'd talk till sunrise, about art, pain, dreams too big for our wallets. A few months later, we moved in together. A tiny loft that smelled like her jasmine candles and the chili she used to burn every time she tried to cook. I adored her. She brought color to my grayscale world. I handled bills and late-night debugging. She filled our walls with quotes and her half-written chapters. I supported her because I believed in her, and maybe more importantly, I believed in us. Looking back now, I see how much I romanticized the struggle. Because the cracks weren't sudden. They were small, creeping things. It started with distance. She'd come home late, book signings, writing groups, editing meetings. I didn't question it. That's what partners do, right? They trust. They support. But soon, she didn't kiss me like she used to. Her laugh didn't come as easily. She looked at me, but not into me. I chalked it up to stress. Then came the night she left her iPad at home. And it lit up with a message from someone saved as Jim. The preview said, "Last night was perfect. Same time tomorrow." I opened it. I don't care if it makes me the villain. I opened it, and there it was. Hundreds of texts, photos, videos, voice notes. He wasn't Jay from the gym. He was Julian, our neighbor. The same guy who'd once helped me move a couch while Isabella made lemonade in the kitchen, barefoot and humming. I read every disgusting, disrespectful word they exchanged. They joked about me, called me boring. She said I was comfortable, like a pair of old shoes. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't scream or throw her out. I just shut down. Something inside me went cold. Because I realized I'd been living with a stranger. And loving a fantasy. I packed a small bag, left a note on the kitchen table that simply said, "Don't call me. You made your choice." And then I disappeared. I moved into a short-term rental, cut off mutual contacts, and threw myself into work like my life depended on it. And maybe it did. I wasn't building a startup anymore. I was building a legacy. I was rebuilding me. 3 months later, I secured a $6.4 million valuation for our platform. Investors lined up. I hired smarter, sharper people. My face was suddenly on tech blogs, podcasts, startup lists. People clapped. But inside, I was sharpening knives. You see, this wasn't about money. It was about retribution. And revenge. Revenge requires patience. First, I made sure Isabella's book, the one she was shopping around, would never see daylight. I'd helped her plot that story, brainstormed with her over wine, even named one of the characters. I took that idea and transformed it into a screenplay. Under a pseudonym. A producer friend owed me a favor. The script was optioned, rewritten, greenlit for development. She was furious when she found out. She ranted online about intellectual theft. But I had copyright filings, contracts, NDAs, paper trails so tight, she couldn't poke a hole in them. Her publisher dropped her. Agents ghosted her. Fans forgot her. Meanwhile, I kept building. And then came Julian. I baited him with a fake crypto fund. Made him believe he was getting inside info. I got him bragging about insider trades over a recorded Zoom call. That video found its way to his firm's compliance team and, eventually, the SEC. Julian lost everything. His job, his license, his freedom of movement. And when the heat came, guess who he threw under the bus? Isabella. She stood by him for a week, maybe 2. Then he vanished. Left her with debt, a ruined reputation, and 0 allies. It was beautiful. It was calculated. It was just the beginning. 8 months later, I met Camille. She wasn't a rebound. She was a renaissance. Elegant, brilliant, fluent in 3 languages. Owned her own firm. Knew her worth. We met at a charity gala where she embarrassed a hedge fund manager by correcting his math during a panel. We became inseparable. No trauma bonding. No games. Just mutual respect, ambition, and fire. Within 6 months, we were co-investing in projects, appearing in business magazines, sponsoring causes. A power couple. Every room we entered fell silent, and not because of money. Because we carried presence. And yes, word got around. I didn't block Isabella. I didn't need to. She watched all of it unfold from the sidelines. Until she finally reached out. Can we talk? I didn't reply, but I knew she'd try harder. The Founders Gala was the perfect stage. Camille and I were among the co-sponsors. It was our night. Wealth, class, power. We arrived fashionably late, hands intertwined, dressed like royalty. And then, I saw her. Isabella, dressed up in desperation. A borrowed designer dress. Forced smile. Thin composure. She'd begged a mutual friend for an invite. She looked at me, and froze. I gave her a nod. No more, no less. Later in the night, Camille and I were slow dancing under the chandeliers when Isabella stormed up to us, fury flashing in her eyes. What is this? She hissed. Some kind of show. Camille stepped between us, cool and poised. I kept my voice calm. You weren't invited. You're parading her around like a trophy, she snapped. Trying to humiliate me. I leaned in, just enough. You did that yourself. Months ago. Her eyes darted. You think money makes you better. I smiled. No, integrity does. And you lost yours with your clothes. She slapped me. Hard. Loud. Public. Security moved in. Camille held my hand. Isabella was escorted out, mascara streaked, heels clicking furiously across the marble. No one clapped. No one stopped her. Not even her date. And me. I went back to dancing. Some say revenge is best served cold. They're wrong. Revenge is best served with silence. With success. With untouchable peace. She thought I'd beg. She thought I'd break. She thought I'd wait. But I didn't burn her house down. I just built a castle next door. And now, every time she looks up, she sees a king. And remembers she could have ruled beside me. Instead, she chose betrayal. And I chose to rise.